Getting some breaking news coming in where the Supreme Court has issued a notice and has sought a response from the Delhi police over the plea filed by protesting wrestlers alleging sexual assault by the Wrestling Federation of India chief Brij Bhushan Sharan. Now, remember, hours after essentially what the recent developments when it comes to what the wrestlers have been doing is that they had approached the Supreme Court yesterday. This is a development where now the Supreme Court has issued a notice to the Delhi police, and they sought a response over the plea which was filed by the wrestlers yesterday. They are alleging sexual assault by the Wrestling Federation of India chief Brij Bhushan Sharan. Remember, they had early begun their protest back in January, and now they had stopped their protest because of an oversight committee that had been formed, which was being led by Mary Kom. But because they allege that no action has been taken against Brij Bhushan, they restarted their protests a few days ago. And because they essentially believe that no action is still being done, despite them repeatedly protesting, repeatedly putting these allegations out, and not getting the response that they seek, despite an oversight committee being formed as well, they are again sitting on a protest. They had then headed to the Supreme Court yesterday to essentially file a plea, and today the development is that the Supreme Court has filed a notice and sought a response from the Delhi police over the allegations that are coming out, and the court essentially is seeking a report from the Delhi police on the same. Now, remember, the wrestling protesters, they also were sleeping on the ground yesterday. Visuals of that had come out, and Swati Maliwal, in fact, had responded to this and put out a tweet criticizing the fact that all of this is taking place with our premier sportspersons of the country. Now, remember, the big development right now in this story that's been going on for the last couple of months is that the Supreme Court has issued a notice and sought a response from the Delhi police. We're crossing over to our legal correspondent, Ananya Bhatnagar, to get us more on this. Ananya, over to you.
Well, Aisha, what has happened is that the Supreme Court actually allowed the urgent mentioning, heard the matter, and has now issued notice to the Delhi police seeking its response over the allegations of these wrestlers who have alleged that there was a sexual assault. And there are 7 complainants, including various wrestlers who are sitting on the dharna, including a minor as well. And since the Supreme Court has retracted the names of these petitioners from the petition itself, we cannot actually name who the complainants are. But at the same point of time, the topmost court of the country, considering that the charges are serious in nature, has now issued notice to the Delhi police, had sought a response from them, and has asked them to file a response by Friday. The matter would now be heard this Friday by the topmost court of the country, and whether or not a FIR is directed to be registered in this matter is a matter of time, and we'll get to know. We've seen how the wrestlers actually waited for 2 months, and now after the 2-month period has actually gone by, which the sports minister and the government had actually promised them over the committee report, is something after which they actually came out and again sat on a dharna, and since then appeal has now been filed before the Supreme Court as well. Now, this petition, what would be the fate of this petition, whether a FIR would be registered into this particular case, what would the Delhi police be saying in its response, is something that we'll get to know in the next few days when the matter actually is heard on Friday by the topmost court of the country.
Ananya, I want to also understand from you, was there any mention of the oversight committee, the delay in actually citing a report by the oversight committee, even though the wrestlers had sat on a protest just months ago and they had to come back to Jantar Mantar? Was all of that also discussed in this particular plea that's been filed before the apex court of the country?
Well, since the plea has been kept confidential, we don't know the exact comments on what is there inside the petition. But at the same point of time, these were the submissions of Mr. Kapil Sibal, who was appearing for all of these petitioners. He said that the wrestlers are sitting on a dharna, and there was a committee report that had to come out, but the same has not been made public and has not been handed over to these wrestlers, and that also needs to be handed over to the wrestlers. It is also a demand in this particular petition, and the major demand that remains to be seen in this petition is seeking a registration of an FIR. Though at the beginning of this hearing, Justice Narasimhan, who was sitting with the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Dhananjay Yashwant Chanchud, said that the remedy lies under 156(3) of the CRPC, wherein they can actually knock a district court. But seeing the seriousness of this particular matter, the judges thought that it will hear the matter itself, and on Friday the response has been sought from, in fact, the Delhi police, and on the coming Friday, the matter would be heard by the top court. And what happens next is something that we'll get to know on Friday.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Ananya. We also have reactions that are coming in, legal voices. This time it is Mr. Narendra Hooda who's appeared on behalf of the wrestlers at the Supreme Court. Let's listen into what he has to say.